Hey, just wanted to take a minute and thank everybody for listening to our first podcast here. Mike Callahan. I own a lawn care and snow removal company in upstate New York, 23rd year in business. And I'd like to welcome my co-host, Garrett Matthews of Shreveport, Louisiana. Garrett is a highly successful lawn care and landscape maintenance company owner, and I have a lot of respect for him. So he's going to be co-hosting this podcast with me here. And we're going to be going over some systems, how to grow your business with proven systems and processes to scale to $1 million and beyond. So if you're on your way to $1 million or even past the $1 million mark, hopefully there's going to be laying a great foundation and a roadmap how to grow your business. And throughout the podcast here, we're going to be building upon different foundations that allowed both of us to grow our businesses. And we're going to be taking at least one question from our listeners once a week and answering that specific question, whether it be a question how we do something in our business or a problem they may be having. And we're also going to be having some other guest hosts. So if you are in the residential home cleaning business, we're going to have different people in, like Martha Woodward of Dusting Divas, to answer some other industry specific questions in the service industry. So Garrett, I think our listeners would like to hear a little about you. Obviously, you've scaled a multi-million-dollar business there in Shreveport, Louisiana. So would you mind giving us a little background on your history, how you got into landscape maintenance, and a little about yourself?
Hey, Mike, thanks. I started this in 2007. I was actually a firefighter for the Shreveport Fire Department, worked on a rescue truck, and cut grass as a side job to fund a hunting habit. So it didn't start out as I didn't set out, I guess, to build a business, but that's kind of what happened. We actually, at one point in time, up to about 3 years ago, I would have called us a design build company that did maintenance. But I didn't have a desire to continue that. So we actually quit cold turkey. We dropped about $1 million in revenue over a 3 to 4 month period and got out of design build altogether, and have focused on maintenance and maintenance only. So we cut grass, we fertilize grass, and we trim bushes. So we offer irrigation service. It's a very small offering that we offer to our existing client base and our existing customers, but we are mainly just a maintenance and service company. So have learned a lot along the way, made a lot of mistakes, and learned a lot of things. So I think that's something, though, that you didn't mention, something that I think we probably ought to air out, that a lot of what we're going to be talking about, and I can say this from having been in a design build company, you can say you're a landscape company. I mean, it's in my name, Matthews Landscape, but I think that a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to be more relevant to people that are in really any service industry, any service-based. I don't see it having a ton of relevance to the construction end of things, but like the cleaning and anything service-based. So I think that's what's going to be good about it, is that we're going to be able to kind of basically lay out some guidelines, if you will, or a foundation that can be followed for anything like that. Not that construction people can't get anything out of it, but I just think it's important to lay that out. That way there's no disagreeing or anything like that. So
yeah, that's great. I guess one other thing I wanted to touch on, I know, because a lot of us in the service industry, especially that recurring revenue model, we're visiting these properties multiple times a week or multiple times a month, is we all deal with employee problems. So if you don't mind me asking approximately how many employees you got, just to kind of give our listeners a background of what we're getting into. And I know in our shop here, we run anywhere from 25 to 27 full-time employees. So we're going to be going over some ideas and processes to go out and recruit and train and onboard a large number of staff. And that seems to be a big problem in the service industry. So if you don't mind me asking, kind of give us a ballpark of how many guys you got in the field, how many people you have in the office. What's that look like in your company, so our listeners have an idea?
We should, when we're fully staffed, we're around 40. Like you said, we've got guys that come and go, so we're kind of always fluctuating plus or minus 2 or 3. I kind of follow the Jason Cup model, and I believe in a loaded bench. So I'm down a couple of Mo guys right now, but we had a couple of guys that were floaters. So we got our field guys. We have a dedicated quality control person. We've got a dedicated sales person. We've got a operations manager, like a field manager. He has an assistant. And then in the office, we have a general manager. We have 2 girls working the phones, an HR person. She kind of is my assistant, if you will. She does all the human resources, payables, things like that. And then actually this year, our newest hire is we hired somebody in-house to do all of our content. So, and that's something we can get on at a later time. But, we have one person doing nothing but marketing content and things like that. So I know that's going to probably sound like a far-fetched, unneeded thing, but like I said, we'll get into that later, and I'll be able to justify why that's probably one of the most important positions even in our company. So not that I could afford it earlier, but fortunately with scale provides a lot. So we'll talk about that later. But anyway.
Thank you for that, candid look inside the company. And I think as we go along here over the next few weeks and next month or two here, we'll really dive into the inner workings. That was one thing that I was really excited to have you on this podcast, that you were at the point in your business where you actually had a dedicated social media and content person. So when we dive into that, I think our viewers are going to have a major return on their investment of time listening to this, and some really just executable takeaways there, even if they're going to do it themselves. So I guess the first thing that we're going to look at for today's call is a question that was submitted prior to us recording this, is how internally in our company that we are averaging 40 to 50 new estimate requests on a daily basis here for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we're going to dive into how we actually do that in my lawn care company, Callahan. And before I dive into that, I kind of want to ask Garrett if you would be kind enough to share. I've got a question. A few of our other people that have been following us on Facebook had a question. Is correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're adding 120 to anywhere to 175 new clients every month in your residential landscape maintenance company. They're reoccurring customers. So would you mind sharing just a taste of how you're doing that?
We're averaging, around 150-ish for this time of the year. That's with right now our close rate is we're averaging 54%. So could be worse, but could be better. It's all based upon, like I said, it's things that we're going to lead to, but it's all about the machine that we've created. So we're doing it through simplicity. The Mike McAllowitz pumpkin plan. I mean, we cut our service offering by half, but yet we're increasing our client count by threefold. So there's a lot of truth to that. I'm a firm believer in just getting in your lane and staying in it, but also realizing that the game is chess. It's not checkers. So it's self-awareness, figuring out what you are, what kind of company you are, where you're going with the company, being realistic to the size, the role that you're going to play. I don't get in the way of our operations because I don't have I'm too ADD. I'm all over the map. I'm very aware of that. I know that about myself. I don't get involved with that, and I let the team run that. So it's all about knowing your role. My role is I feel like I'm a good mentor towards the sales and then driving the sales and the media engagement and things like that. So I kind of stay over there on my side of the business, and I let them stay over there on their side of the business. I give them the reins. I let them learn, mentor when needed and where appropriate. But it's just all about building that team, putting that team in place. More importantly, realizing what your needs are, where your bottlenecks are going to be, staying out in front of those bottlenecks. And I know you hear that all the time. People talk about, you're this or you're that for your company, but I suck at the financial end of our business. I'm not afraid to admit it. I hate the numbers. I happen to just hire somebody who's really good at it. So therefore she gives me what I need to know. I'm aware of our numbers. That doesn't mean that I hate reading reports. I hate diving into that stuff. But that's just an example of, setting your ego aside. And, I'm fine with the fact that there's somebody in my business that knows more about the financial stability of my business than I am. So I've hired to my weaknesses, and I've gone all in on my strengths. So, and it is, it's a system, if you will, or it's a belief, or it's a mentality that I can't urge enough or stress enough that of how well it works. Prime example, one of the reasons Mike and I get along so well, we've known each other for, golly, I don't know, I guess 7 years now. And, Mike and I are nothing alike. I think you would agree with that, Mike. Mike is very analytical. Mike's very analytical, and he's very deliberate, and I'm very fly by the seat of my pants. I think that one of the reasons that even our relationship works is that we're able to help round each other out. I guess we help each other with each other's businesses, and he kind of helps bring me down, and I kind of help bring him up in each of our strengths. So it's the same thing with just like that. It's just surrounding yourself with and being around smart people, or people that are better than you at the stuff you suck at.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So, we'll be diving really into that and giving everybody a plan of how we do it. Hopefully, there'll be some takeaways here in the next couple podcasts, and just kind of hit quickly on how we're getting so much volume in the estimate request is kind of taking the polar opposite approach of Garrett a little bit, is getting analytical and really we're segmenting our customers and where they're at in the life cycle and per service. So by segmenting our customers where they're at in the life cycle and per service, we're able to have very meaningful conversations to the service they're interested in, and then provide content and education to them. And by doing so, we position ourselves as a topic expert. And as this thing builds upon itself, and which Garrett is absolutely awesome with, and we're going to get into that in the next couple talks here. But by positioning ourselves as a topic expert locally, and with just repetitive marketing that's speaking specifically to our target audience, it is allowing us to just drive a large amount of estimates in a short amount of time in estimate requests. So starting the next podcast, obviously we're going to be answering one question per podcast that's submitted. Those could be submitted to Mike at CallahanLawnCare.com, or Mike at SimpleGrowthSystems.com, or check us out on Facebook and submit a question via Facebook Messenger. But we're going to be taking a question once a week and answering them. And before we answer the question, we're going to have one business takeaway that's allowed us to build and scale a business. So starting next week, we're going to start right from the foundation, how we started, and it's going to be an executable blueprint to actually scale your business to $1 million and beyond, and basically get yourself out of the firefighting position of putting fires out daily in your business to enjoy your business and have a life outside of it. So if your business is running you ragged, you're running 100 hours a week, you're missing your kids' baseball games or ballet recitals because you're constantly working and putting out fires, this is something that you definitely want to make sure you tune into next week, because we're going to give you the wins and the losses and our personal experience of running our business and what's worked and what hasn't worked. So by no means are we going to be standing on a pedestal here telling you that what always works. We're also going to tell you the things that we've done that haven't worked as well. So Garrett, you have any closing thoughts before we get going?
I think a good takeaway for this week would be, and something that we'll kind of expound upon next week, is something that you can be thinking about is, one of the first steps in knowing, what this business that you're going to grow is going to be and what it's going to turn into is have a serious conversation with yourself. If you live in a rural outskirt area, you might not be able to grow a $5 or $7 or $10 million company. You might, $1.5 million might be all that you're going to be able to realistically achieve. So I think that I'm a big fan of reverse engineering everything. I think you've got to know what is the end game. Not that yardstick can't move later down the road, but what are we shooting for right now? And then we're going to start there and work our way back. So I think just to kind of have some context in next week's conversation, ask yourself, how big can I actually get with this? You might be in a Dallas or a Phoenix or an Atlanta or whatever. You might be in a bigger market that can allow a really big business. So I just think just kind of figuring out what are we shooting for? What are we going for? How big can I actually get with this is a serious conversation that you ought to ask yourself and think about and just kind of expand on it from there. So.
Yeah, great advice, Garrett. And in addition to, make sure you check out the show notes. We'll be leaving the recommendations for Garrett's pumpkin plan written by Mike McAllowitz. And each podcast, if there is an executable takeaway as far as an Excel sheet or a budget template or whatever we're going through at that point of our podcast, in the show notes, we'll be giving free links to grab some free goodies to utilize in your business immediately. So your takeaways and your return on your investment of time listening to the podcast can be a executable return on your time, and you can implement immediately in your business if you want. So we'll be announcing the regular day and time of the podcast release. Until then, drop some questions so we can answer them. And really want to thank Garrett Matthews here for joining and co-hosting this podcast to help everybody grow and scale their business and hopefully take their life back from their business. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys, y'all have a good day.